When people discuss the ending of the Bleach manga, they usually talk about the finale of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. And when Kubo says that he had ended Bleach the way that he had wanted to from the very beginning, they link this statement to the 1000-Year Blood War arc. But I actually think that Kubo is referencing the final 2 chapters of Bleach, where we get that 10-year epilogue, which reveals to us the current goings on within the Soul Society, as well as catching up with Ichigo and his friends in Karakura Town. If you think about it, if Kubo had truly ended the 1000-Year Blood War arc the way that he had wanted to within the manga, then why are so many additions being made to the anime version? I believe that Kubo was satisfied with the way that he had ended Bleach because of the final 2 chapters of the series. In this video, I want to break down and analyze the events of chapter 685 and 686 and explain why Bleach's open-ended finale, similar to Dragon Ball, is one of the most iconic endings in all of shonen anime and manga. So without further delay, here is my video breaking down and analyzing the ending of the Bleach manga. We got really tired of the same old boring anime shirts, so we decided to launch Getsuga.com with the aim of creating designs inspired by our favorite anime and manga. We came up with designs that look cool and represent all of our favorite stories. Check out the latest Instinct collection, which features some amazing designs like this Frosted Heavens design inspired by Toshiro Hitsugaya, or this Instinct design inspired by Hollow Ichigo, and my personal favorite, which is the heart design, which was inspired by Ukiura Shifa. Do not miss out, go to Getsuga.com and wear your favorite stories. So following the defeat of Yhwach in chapter 684, after he admits that he had confused one of his visions for a dream where he had seen Ichigo wielding his original Shikai Zangetsu, we don't really get any material covering the immediate aftermath following the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Following this defeat, we have had several Bleach stories which are set a few months or even years after this moment, like Can't Be Your Own World, which is set 6 months following the defeat of Yhwach, and then you have the No Breaths from Hell one-shot chapter, which is set 12 years after the ending of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. While Can't Be Your Own World does have its standalone story, it does also reveal to us the immediate aftermath following the events of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. So I would definitely love to see those light novels get animated, because in chapter 685 we get a very abrupt 10-year time skip as we see Shunsui sat at the grave of Ukitake, as he speaks with his late friend about how the cleanup within the Seirete is almost over, stating that they only have one more section of road to fix before everything has been restored following the war with the Quincy. He reveals that it has taken 10 years, but they're finally bounced back from that disaster against the Quincy. Shunsui is then ushered away by Nanao as they have more pressing matters to attend to, as Shunsui leaves the grave of Ukitake telling him that he still hasn't gotten used to how busy the role of a head captain is. He tells Ukitake that now he knows how great of a man Old Man Yamamoto was. Before we cut away from the scene, we see some sort of black goo appearing from underneath the tiles of the Soul Society. This is a brief glimpse into the remnants of Yhwach's power, which we will discuss later in the video. We then cut to Mayuri as he has taken on an entirely new appearance, as it appears as though the Shinigami Research and Development Institute is expanding, as Mayuri states that he can now expand his secret network across all of the Seirete. He then calls out to the new iteration of Nemu called Nemuri Hachigo. She is just a child at this age as she accompanies Mayuri to one of his field surveys. Mayuri still appears to be getting used to this younger version of Nemu, who appears to be more outspoken than Nemuri Nanago, as he tells her to keep her voice down and that he doesn't know how she had ended up the way that she has. We then cut to the 11th division as we see Yumichika, Ikaku and Kimpachi. His entire squad at the same time begin to ask him how his day was, as Kimpachi yells at them that it's still the middle of the damn day and he doesn't know what kind of a day it is yet. They all say that he's right, as they then tell him to have a nice day, as Ikaku reminds Kimpachi that they need to head over to the Squad 1 barracks. But Kimpachi seems to think that they need to go to Squad 13's barracks. He then tells Ikaku that he only used to get lost because of Yachiru, but now that she isn't here, he won't get lost at all. Yumichika and Ikaku then rush behind Kimpachi, as we then cut to Squad 5 as we see Shinji and Momo. Shinji wonders why are they going in the wrong direction as Momo states that they may be lost. She then charges on to try and stop them. Shinji then gives her a captain's order not to get involved with them because they'll be even more late. It seems like all of the captains and lieutenants are rushing towards the 1st Division barracks, as we then see Captain Iba meet with Hitsugaya and Rangiku, as Hitsugaya comments on how Iba is fulfilling his captain's duties from the training grounds, and that he is working really hard as a captain, but Iba states that he is nowhere near captain material yet. He explains that he feels like if he skips a single day of training then he won't be a captain anymore. Hitsugaya, who refers to Rangiku, wonders if a certain somebody could learn a lesson from Iba, but Rangiku deflects his comments by stating that maybe Hisagi could take this advice on board, as we then see Kensei agreeing to Rangiku, as he tells Hisagi to pay attention, as Hisagi here reveals that he has already mastered Bankai. Hitsugaya, Rangiku and Kensei all say that they haven't seen his Bankai yet, but Hisagi argues that his captain definitely has, and it's not his fault that he hasn't had a chance to use it yet. Hitsugaya comments on the fact that he hasn't had to use his Bankai for 10 years is actually a good thing. It means that in these last 10 years, the Soul Society has done well to maintain the peace. Hitsugaya then states to close out these 10 years, today's ceremony that they are partaking in is very fitting. Soifon yells at Kinpachi, Ikaku and Yumichika for being late, and during this time we learn that Isane has become the newly appointed captain of the 4th Division. Nanao then calls out to all of the captains and lieutenants present as she exclaims that they are about to begin the ceremony to appoint a new captain into the Gotei 13. She then orders for the newly appointed captain to enter. Renji advises her to try and stay calm as we learn that the newly appointed captain of the 13th Division is in fact Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia enters the 1st Division barracks as we then cut to the Shinigami Research and Development Institute. Akon wonders where Mayuri has gone as he remembers that today is the ceremony for the newly appointed captain, but he is corrected by one of the other researchers who states that he thinks that Mayuri had gone to survey the recovery zone. Akon states that the instruments are actually picking up a strange reading and it's really similar to Yhwach's spiritual pressure from 10 years ago. This is how chapter 685 ends as we then begin the final chapter of the Bleach manga. Chapter 686 begins with us being introduced to a new character, and this is the son of Orihime and Ichigo, who is called Kazui Kurosaki. He appears to be snooping around within the hideout of the Vizards, as Hiyori yells out to him wondering how on earth he had gotten here, as he manages to run away before she can catch him. We then see Byakuya rushing forward along with a Shinigami who reports to him that the spiritual pressure reading is believed to be the remnants of Yhwach's power, which apparently is the final restoration section of the Soul Society, and it's adjacent to the Squad 13 barracks. Soifon then accompanies Byakuya as she states that Rukia had left following the ceremony, which is why she had Byakuya go and check the disturbing spiritual pressure, as Byakuya states that Rukia and Renji haven't had any time off in a while, so there is no need to get them involved in this matter, as he states that he will take care of things. When they arrive at their destination, they see that Mayuri is already there. Mayuri is surprised because he didn't relay any of this information to both Soifon or Byakuya, as Soifon states not to underestimate the Onmitsukido's intelligence network. Byakuya adds that the fact that Mayuri is here must mean that the information was correct. Mayuri responds by saying that he is about to see for himself just how accurate the information is, as we then see a black circle of Reiatsu appear, and it appears to have the eyes of Yhwach's Almighty, as we then cut to the world of the living as Renji and Rukia arrive within Kurosaki clinic. Ichigo greets them as he appears to be older with much shorter hair than we had last seen. Rukia teases Ichigo stating that the clinic still hasn't caught on, but Ichigo states that it's actually a good thing when a hospital is empty, as he explains that everybody is here. We see Keigo, Mizuhiro, Tatsuki, as well as Yuzu and Karin, who have both grown up. We learn that they have all gathered to watch a heavyweight title match, as the challenger is none other than Chad himself. They all agree that it's shocking that Chad has ended up becoming the most famous out of all of them, as we then cut to somebody who is watching the boxing match on their phone, and it's none other than Uryu, who is revealed to have become a doctor. We learn that he's taking an extended lunch break because he wasn't able to take the day off for his friends, so he's watching Chad's boxing match on the rooftop. All in all, everything just appears to be really wholesome, as Ichigo then calls out to Orihime, as Ichigo wonders where Kazui is, and it seems like Orihime is using her Sonten Kishun abilities in order to keep an an eye on Kazui, as she states that according to Tsubaki, he was just at Hiyori's place. Yuzu states that Kazui is probably in Ichigo's room as he likes being in there, but Ichigo clarifies that that room is now Yuzu's, to which she says that Kazui is always welcome, as Karin teases her that this is just because Kazui is the spitting image of Ichigo. Ichigo then asks Rukia and Renji weren't they supposed to be bringing their kid too, as Rukia states that she's finally now become a Gotei 13 cadet, so she was actually given a travel permit for the summer. Rukia calls out to her but she isn't sure where she has gone, as Ichigo is shocked at Rukia's laid-back attitude towards a child. She reassures him by saying that she's a Shinigami now, so no human is going to be able to hurt her, as we then cut to Kazui, who appears to be staring at a hole in the air which looks strikingly similar to the remnants of Yhwach's spiritual pressure which we had seen within the Soul Society. He does not appear to be phased by the remnants of Yhwach's spiritual pressure, as he happily looks at it swirling around. Back in the Soul Society, the spiritual pressure begins to be released, as Soifon yells out to her squad that it's coming as she tells them to fall back as the Shinigami prepare for the worst, but then we see Kazui reaching out to this black hole as he puts his hand into it, and then we see within the Soul Society that the remnants of Yhwach's power vanishes. Somehow Kazui making contact with Yhwach's remaining spiritual pressure ends up eliminating it. Some fans have theorized that Kazui had destroyed it, or he had even absorbed Yhwach's spiritual pressure here. We then cut to the lowest level of the central underground prison called Muken, as we see Aizen tied down, with him stating that the final remnants of Yhwach's power is finally gone. We then cut to the final moments of Ichigo's battle with Yhwach, as Yhwach grabs Ichigo's Zanpakuto as he tells him that the path has been sealed, the path to a world without fear. Yhwach explains that the world of the living, the Soul Society and Hueco Mundo should have all become one, and that life and death were meant to be combined once again. But Yhwach states that that can no longer be thanks to Ichigo. He tells him that it's disappointing that because of him, life and death will retain their shapes, and that all living beings will continue to live their lives constantly in fear of death. Aizen gives us a response to Yhwach's failed objectives. In an inner monologue, he tells Yhwach that fear certainly would not have existed in the world that he had wished for, but in a world without the fear of death, people would not search for hope. In a way, life will become stagnated and redundant, as those with life will persist simply by just being alive. But the way that people live presently is to be admired because they are persistently fending off fear while they are alive. Aizen explains that this is why people have a special name for this quality, and it is called courage. This is the courage to continuously take one step forward with the fear of death constantly at your back. We then cut back to Ichigo's old bedroom as a circular hole appears, and similar to how Rukia had met Ichigo in chapter 1, Rukia and Renji's daughter Ichika appears before Kazui as he wonders who's there, and this seems to be the first meeting between Ichika Abarai, a Shinigami cadet, and Ichigo Norihime's son Kazui Kurosaki, as he reveals that he too is a Shinigami. This epilogue of the Bleach manga perfectly wraps up the story of Bleach, as it leaves us with a open-ended finale, introducing us to the next generation of Shinigami, whilst also showing us what's going on currently within the Soul Society as well as the world of the living. Now, one of the biggest mysteries from this finale is in relation to the remnants of Yhwach's power. There are several theories as to what had happened here, but I believe that this is because of what Yhwach had said in the past, as he was in fact attempting to attack Ichika and not Kazui. If you remember, towards the end of the 1000-year Blood War arc, when Renji and Rukia had arrived within Yhwach's throne room, he had told them that he would find their happiest moment in the future and kill them then. This explains why the remnants of Yhwach's spiritual pressure was near the Squad 13 barracks in the Soul Society, as well as why it had appeared right where Ichika was going to appear. Because after Kazui had deactivated Yhwach's spiritual pressure, Ichika ended up appearing not too long after that. I, like a lot of fans, believe that the remnants of Yhwach's power was actually attacking from the past, and it wasn't that Yhwach was returning to life here, and this may have been an ability that was granted to Yhwach thanks to the Almighty. The remnants of his spiritual pressure may have lied lingering waiting to attack right at the moment where Rukia had just become a captain and she was visiting the world of the living with her daughter for the very first time. This most certainly does feel like one of the happiest moments for the two of them, and it's no wonder that Yhwach had picked this precise moment to launch an attack against the two of them from the past. So while this epilogue takes place 10 years following the events of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, we are aware that the events of the No Breeds from Hell one-shot chapter actually occur 2 years following this, and Burn the Witch is also set in the same timeline. So the Hell one-shot chapter as well as Burn the Witch occurring 12 years after the defeat of Yhwach. The Hell one-shot chapter as well as the ending of Bleach sets up a lot of interesting possibilities about Kazui and his powers, especially with how he was able to defeat the remnants of Yhwach just by touching his spiritual pressure, and then how he is able to create portals to Hell in the one-shot chapter. I do believe that the story of Bleach is far from over and that we are definitely going to be getting a manga continuation, but for now I do love how the Bleach manga had wrapped up with its final 2 chapters. I do think that there is a sense of closure while also leaving things open-ended for a possible continuation, which is exactly how Dragon Ball had ended, and I think that this is the best way to end most shonen stories. While fans aren't happy with the ending of the 1000-Year Blood War arc and believe it to be rushed, I do think that Core 4 of the anime is going to rectify all of the issues that we had, and then to wrap things off we're going to be getting these 2 incredible epilogue chapters adapted, and hopefully with them getting their own expansions within the anime version. Now we have reached the point of the video where I do want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you guys think about the ending of the Bleach manga? Were you satisfied with the way that Kubo had wrote this epilogue, and as he states, it was written the way that he had planned from the very beginning, with Ichigo ending up with Orihime, with Rukia becoming a captain, with both couples having their own child, Uryu becoming a doctor, and Chad becoming a world famous boxer? I'd love to know all of your thoughts about the ending of Bleach, so definitely continue the discussion in the comments, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.